Hi everyone, thank you for joining me in AppScan Tuesdays again. This is episode 50. Imagine that, 50 sessions already. And 2 weeks ago I showed you, I was on a meeting with Matt Murphy, and we showed the GitHub integration that we have, Code Sweep for GitHub, and it went live. So I'll include an image now that shows how it works, how it looks, and I will include a link below where you can get it. It's basically on the GitHub Marketplace. You can search for AppScan there. For this meeting, for this session, I have an amazing guest that I had in the show before. Hi, Cody.
Hello. Well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming again. It's the third or fourth time for you on the show, I can recall.
I think it's the third time.
Yeah, we did first on the login. That was even when we were doing this live. Then a few weeks ago, we had another session. So
the user management via GitHub, I think.
Yeah, and I'll include the links for those also. And now as this is DevOps month in AppScan Tuesdays, we were doing the Jenkins SaaS scans with Bamboo. We were doing the code sweep with GitHub. We were doing the HCL software DevOps, basically accelerate and launch all of it with AppScan, giving you the DevSecOps experience end to end. We left DAST outside. So people tend to leave DAST outside of DevOps, right? Of their DevSecOps. Right. And I know you had a great demo to show about that. But before we go there, Cody, DAST takes longer. Does it really fit DevOps? When does it fit DevOps?
Yeah, if you're running builds every night, every 30 minutes, daily builds, maybe DAST doesn't come into play every single build. I would reserve it for major milestone builds, or maybe every weekend, for a specific build. Definitely not every time if you're building in a continuous integration environment.
And the reason is time, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you're running little bitty scans, SaaS can take, minutes, 30 seconds, a couple of minutes, not a big deal. You can hold a build up for 30 seconds or, 5 minutes, not a big deal. But for DAST scans, you're looking at several minutes to run a scan, even up to, over an hour if your application is big enough. So you definitely don't want to hold your build up for that long. So specialized, builds, maybe on the weekends, milestone builds is all I would do.
Yeah, and it really depends on each person's application and how they run their DAST automation. Now, it's important to know that when we talk about DAST automation, someone can invoke a DAST scan, full scan as part of their automation, but that's not really DevOps. That can take hours and sometimes even days.
Right.
What we want is to leverage what they already do as part of the DevOps, the functional testing, and use that to do testing.
So what I'm doing today is I'm taking a couple of test cases that I've created for my application. I'm not doing a full crawl of the app. I'm just focusing only on those specific test cases that I've recorded. I don't want to run tests on any other part of the app but that one. So if I'm running a build and only that specific portion of the app is changed, then I'm only going to be running tests on that specific portion of the app. So hopefully that will be more of a DevOps style scan where the scan is only focusing on the pieces that changed, and it's going to run much quicker.
And of course, we're not claiming that once you do that, you're good. But the idea is that you can do that earlier instead of waiting for the quarterly or monthly or whatever DAST scan cadence that you have. You can catch a lot of things earlier if you scope the scan much smaller and use your existing QA testing activities for that.
That's right.
So let's jump into the demo. I know that many people are interested in seeing how it works because people don't believe that they can run DAST as part of DevOps.
Right. All right, so I'm switching my screen.
Yep, I can see your screen.
All right, perfect. So to get started, I'm going to use Jenkins as my DevOps tool. This could just as easily be Bamboo, could be Jenkins, could be Maven, whatever build system that you have an integration with. I'll be focusing on Jenkins today. So as part of my build, I'll have, my application is built. There should be some kind of deployment step where the application is deployed because this is a DAST scan, so we need the application to be running somewhere. And my portion of the DAST automation gets started with the functional test cases. So I have just a batch command that runs as part of my build. And what it does, it kicks off a series of test cases. I do have to do some housekeeping first. I do have to check to make sure the AppScan proxy is running. This proxy server is included as part of AppScan Enterprise. We have a proxy server included for AppScan on cloud. So it doesn't matter if you have AppScan on cloud or AppScan Enterprise, we can run these automation test cases and capture them. And I'm going to be stepping through a couple of basic use cases of Altoro Mutual. So if you're familiar, Altoro Mutual is our demo banking site. I'm just going to log in, make some transactions, run a search, and then log out. So very basic test cases. Those test cases could be run as Selenium. It could be whatever functional test case platform you choose to use. As long as you can set the browser proxy to be the AppScan proxy server, that we could capture it. So that piece is going to run. I'm going to capture my traffic, save it to a specific file, and then later use that file as the Explorer data in my scan. So as part of my AppScan Enterprise automation setup, I have my plugin installed to Jenkins, which is necessary. I have my API credentials here. I have my template, my scan template set up. I gave my scan a name. I like to use some sort of name, like if I'm running a scan from Jenkins, I like to put the word Jenkins in the scan name just so I can take a look at it later and see where the scan originated from. I have an automation folder dedicated to just the automation in my AppScan Enterprise environment. I have the application selected. I have my test policy selected. I have my starting URL selected. I did record a login. This could be recorded with AppScan Standard, the AppScan Dynamic Analysis Client. It could be recorded with our plugin, the browser plugin, AppScan Activity Recorder. So this could be, recorded any of those places. But the biggest piece where it comes into play is I have this test only option selected. And this test only option tells AppScan not to do the full automatic Explorer because that would take too long. I'll only use this Explorer data that we're going to record as the basis of the scan, right? I have some test optimization set. I have this set to the fastest option to quickly get through the scan. And I have some AppScan issue gateway actions happening at the end. I can talk about that in a little bit later.
I'll include a link to the Jenkins plugin that Cody is showing here also in the description because it's available if you want to use.
Right, and the AppScan issue gateway piece, I've already recorded a video for that, so if you want to include that in the description as well, I'll kind of just mention it in passing here, and then you can check out the video later.
Sure, I'll include that now.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off a build. And the build that's been kicked off, I'll take a look at the output. I will verify that my proxy server is running. It looks like it's been started successfully. The AppScan issue gateway is running too, so that's important to have those running if you're going to include that as part of your setup.
And just for you to know, for people who are not familiar, AppScan issue gateway has nothing to do with this. AppScan issue gateway is about when we get the results, what to do with them. Do we want to push them into our defect tracking system, for example, Jira or Azure DevOps, or not? You don't have to use it as part of your build if you don't want to.
Right. So this would be a good time to kind of pick apart exactly what was done with my DAST Auto script. I checked to make sure the proxy is running. So I did verify that the proxy is running and what port number it's running on. So 51710. So I know to set that as my browser proxy when I run the test cases. So these are my test cases. I'm logging in. I'm getting some account details, making a funds transfer, performing a search, and then I'm logging out. I stop the traffic listener, and then I save the traffic file to the specified path that was specified in the plugin. So it's important that this path is correct because the plugin is going to look here for that traffic file. And then after that, the plugin will take care of the rest. So it looks like the job is running. Job 356 is running, so I can hop over to AppScan Enterprise, look at my automation folder, and I can see that there's a scan running here. So this scan is currently executing and was kicked off as part of the automation.
And this scan will take as long or as short as it's configured. If you have a large functional testing script or scripts, it will take longer, of course. But as Cody mentioned, we discussed earlier, you can focus it on a specific area. You don't have to capture all your functional testing as part of this build, or you may have only the latest and greatest changes that you did if you want a short cycle here.
Right. So this scan could take a few minutes to run. So what I'm going to do is I may hop over to a previous scan that I did in Jenkins to ASE DAST. Look at this build. So this scan completed successfully. It found a number of issues. I used the AppScan issue gateway integration I mentioned before to create a number of issues in Jira. We can hop over there. You can see I have a bunch of issues in Jira now based on my DAST scan. Mm-hmm. And once this piece is complete, you're looking at one full build where you've kicked off a build, it runs, the application is built, it's deployed to a server. Somewhere you have knowledge of where that server is. You have a login sequence recorded. Those test cases were kicked off, recorded, saved as a manual Explorer file. The AppScan Enterprise plugin picks up the scan template, that manual Explorer data, runs the scan, that scan completes, and then we create some issues in Jira, kind of making it full circle.
And the great thing about it is we want to make sure that application security is something that developers can do, that DevOps can do. As you can see, we are not, Cody showed it, but you do not need to go to AppScan Enterprise at all. You configure this plugin, you get the results back in your Jira. You can fix everything without ever needing to go to AppScan Enterprise. Leave that for the security folks and for the business owners that they want to go and manage their program. But there is no ask to introduce new complexities and new definitions or onboarding new tools for the developers and DevOps engineers.
Really, the only thing to maintain is this login sequence. That's kind of like the only difficult part, is to make sure that your login credentials stay up to date, mm-hmm. and this login sequence works, because if this fails, it's going to hinder your scan.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's very easy.
Yeah, which is why we recorded that session about login. If you don't have a good login, everything else is not interesting. So make sure if something changed to update this file. It's pretty easy to use the activity recorder for this. Just make sure to do that. Okay, I think this is what we want to show. Yeah. So let's bring you back. Thanks, Cody. So there is often when we demo integrations and Jira, integration with DevOps and scripts, there is not much to demo because it just works once you set it up. But it is what we wanted to show. So I'm not going to claim there is magic and fairy dust here. There is a little bit of onboarding, as Cody mentioned. You need to record a login. You may want to define the policy that will fit your needs, and that's based on the speed, the time that you have to invest in the scan. But it's definitely doable. You have the plugin, you can connect it with the functional testing or whatever QA testing that you are doing automatically and run it from there. So in my opinion, not a lot of excuses anymore not to do it at all and saying, no, it's a problem of the pen testers later. No. Cody, in previous life, you were one of those pen testers. I bet that there were a lot of cases where you found really low-hanging fruits, which weren't much interesting for you.
Yeah, half of the time spent on a web application pen test is just finding stuff that should have been found a lot earlier. Invalid SSL certificates, just like not validating input, stuff that should have been caught right away by early scan, that had to wait until after the build was complete, after it's been deployed. You're about to go to production next week, and then I find an issue that should have been caught months earlier.
And both sides are upset with that because this is boring for you as the pen tester.
Right.
And for the dev team, they could get rid of it really, really quick. So that's the idea here.
Right.
Cool. So thanks very much, Cody, for coming to the show.
Yep.
And for showing this. Again, as I mentioned, I included a link to the video that Cody recorded on the issue gateway to show how things are going to be propagated into Jira. And it's very, you can control what needs to go there by issue type, by the status of the issue, so whatever you want, which is really cool. Not just Jira, and also Azure DevOps, and I think RTC. It can be extended. And I invite you to watch the previous videos from this month, especially the one that I recorded with Matt, because it's live now and it's free. So everyone can use it. All you need is a subscription to ASOC, and it can be a trial subscription. You don't have to pay. We want you to use it because we are your customers also. We don't want you to be hacked on things that can be caught and put our information in jeopardy. So with that in mind, anything you want to add, Cody?
Congrats on 50 episodes. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out the GitHub integration. Check out AppScan Tuesdays. Stay up to date. And thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. And you can subscribe down below there, below Cody. There is a small AppScan icon. Use it to subscribe. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.